Church, Kirsten needs to stick to her day job of being a real estate agent because her attempt at comedy this episode had me saying nothing but boo, boo. I got my notes. I hope y'all got yours. Let's get on into this damn mess. Y'all, so to my returning church members, baby, welcomes, and to all my new people, please make sure to smash that subscribe button and to also click that bell notification so you are notified every time I decide to upload a video. Now, baby, listen, my outfit today is giving understanding, okay? How can we communicate if you don't hear what I say? Squilly dilly dilly dee. But my spirit is giving crazier than a soup sandwich, just like Kirsten. Now let's hop on into it. Now this episode was about the couples basically showing their backgrounds, writing letters to their younger selves to try to build commonalities and to try to build deeper connections between the two of them, right? So in terms of Kirsten and Shaquille, Kirsten starts the episode by showing this beautiful, estate down to Tennessee. And y'all, I've mentioned this on this channel before, but it's been so haphazard that maybe y'all don't remember, but I have been trying to get my real estate license for like the last year and a half, okay? Listen, I passed the class last July, all right? But the problem with me, and maybe y'all can relate, is that I have a spirit of procrastination on my life, okay? The worst thing you can do is tell me I got time because I'm going to, in the eternal words of Escape, kick off my shoes and relax my feet, party on down to the Escape beat and just kick it, okay? And that's what I've been doing for the last year, okay? I passed the class last July. I got a year to take the state test, and I've just been, dragging my feet. But listen, Kirsten showing this house this episode really stirred something up in me in terms of just seeing her operating her skill set, showing this beautiful house. Listen, the house was way too big for me, okay? They said the estate was $2.9 million. Listen, and it looked every bit of $2.9 million, all right? It was too many entrances and exits, okay? In the eternal words of Wendy Williams, baby, I need one exit and one entrance, okay? I don't need a whole bunch of windows, doors. Put me in a nice high-rise type condo or something like that because all I could think of, and y'all know every time I watch this show, it's a Lifetime murder mystery starring me, okay? Listen, murder down to the estate in Tennessee, okay? Listen, Lifetime producers, if I see a show that says, murder down to estates in Tennessee, I know that y'all be watching my videos, okay? Or somebody gonna send it to you. I want full credit and I want a nice little stipend, a little cut of the back end, okay? Now listen. All went well with the house until Kirsten started, I guess, an attempt at comedy that nobody knew that was in her, okay? Now, Kirsten sits down with Shaq after going through the house and talking about possibilities and hearing the pitter-patter of feed and children and them bringing their friends over and, this, that, and the third, right? And Kirsten starts talking about how, you need to buy me a house, you need to buy me a car, you need to basically provide for me. Now listen, I've said this several times on this channel, there is nothing wrong with wanting what you want, okay? You have to be steadfast in what you want, 10 toes down in what you want, and if that's what you want, then that's okay, all right? But the thing about it is, Kirsten, if it was a joke comes with a punchline, mama, okay? And nothing you were saying made anybody, Shaq included, think that you were joking, okay? Talking about how he needs to buy you a house and you ain't gonna be helping, but you want your name on the title. Now listen, Kirsten, I want you to basically cha-cha slide down to the nearest stadium down to Tennessee, okay? And post yourself up out that thing looking for a baller shot caller, okay? Aim for a player, but dream of the damn NBA owner or something like that because that's what you need to do, okay? There is nothing wrong with wanting to be taken care of, but the mindset and the way you kind of phrased it, it just seemed very, one-sided. Like it was supposed to be Shaq doing all these things and you was just supposed to show up, okay? You want him to buy you a house, which you not putting any, money or effort behind it. You want him to buy you a car and just finance your whole life. It rubbed me the wrong way, okay? And furthermore, as a real estate agent, okay, how you not gonna help the man? I guess you said you're gonna help him find the house, but you know what happens in terms of the ins and outs, qualifying for a house, qualifying for a mortgage, a double income is better than a single income, credit, all those kind of talks. And if you're trying to be on this show and build this life together and build commonalities, and it's you and him against the world, I just don't know what drove you to basically try to create this whole one-sided marriage in terms of this damn house thing. But, let you tell it later on in the episode, it was a joke. But I feel like, in the eternal words of Tamar Braxton, baby, you were seriously joking, okay? There was some element of truth to what you were saying, even if you didn't realize it, right? Now, listen, another point I want to make on this is that, you telling the man he needs to provide for you, he needs to do all this stuff, buy you a house and a car. Y'all, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Shaquille in the world of education? Okay, I think he's an educator or trying to be one. Okay, he got these mentees, he got this whole education, this university thing going on. Listen, I'm not saying you can't, have a good life as an educator, but that's one of those careers that going into it, there's a cap to how much you fit in to make, okay? And I'm not saying that you can't get a $2.9 million house as an educator, but the only three ways I've ever seen it is if you come from money already, you have some sort of cash windfall, or you absconding in the middle of the night with the university funds and misappropriating everything, okay? So y'all drop down in the comments and let me know if you agree, but that whole thing, like you might be mismatched, Kirsten, with Shaq if you're looking for somebody to buy you a $2.9 million house and you not putting no money behind it as well, right? Now, further on in the episode, Kirsten shows Shaq her childhood home, right? And so it's like this, humble abode, and she was talking about her parents and, the life that they created for them in the house, and it was full of joy and blah, blah, blah. And, basically she was just trying to, in a way, undo what she did with the big house, okay? It was kind of a way to kind of, show Shaq that this is the reason why I have the mindset that I do, okay? I always saw my dad provide. He always knew what to do. He put one foot in front of the other, and he made it happen, okay? And just like I said before, in terms of, absconding with the university funds, Kirsten... Is that why you expect a $2.9 million house? Because, your daddy may have allegedly been scamming or doing some sort of scandal-based thing that you still won't tell us from the last episode? What was the scandal? I still want to know what was the scandal that her parents divorced under, okay? Because her talking about the educator man about to buy her this $2.9 million house or some house in that damn range, okay? And we don't have any way to see of how Shaq could afford this thing, okay? But you talk about your father, basically bought you out. Listen, if you want Shaq to buy you a house just like that, I think that that's possible in terms of your childhood home, okay? But don't be showing the man a $2.9 million house and then saying you need to buy this for me and a damn car, okay? That's why that man told you, honey, you ain't gonna be driving no Mercedes. You're gonna be driving, something cheap, okay? Something cheap and cheerful, a Toyota, a Nissan, or a Honda. Get into it, okay? Now, in terms of Shaq, right? Shaq and brings Kirsten to go see his family members. So it was his godmother and his godsister, right? And what I really gleaned from this whole interaction was just how much family means to Shaq. We've seen it throughout the season, but Shaq just seems to be the glue that holds his family together, right? He's very family oriented. When, the matriarch and the patriarch of the family in terms of his grandparents died, and they were the ones that were responsible for keeping the family together. And when they passed on and everybody started to do their own thing, Shaq was like, this is not what we doing, honey, not today, Satan. And he basically started organizing events, getting people together, celebrating holidays as a family. And it just was really nice to see that aspect of him, right? I told y'all from the beginning, if she could get past this whole archetype that she has of this, ideal man or whatever in her head, this man has so many fringe benefits in terms of being kind, what in the eternal words of the help, kind, smart, and important. Okay, listen, he has great values, great familial values, and not everybody has those or has the capacity to do that, right? Now, on to this fight that they had down to the table. As I said before, Kirsten, nobody knew that you were joking, okay? And I don't have a problem with Shaq, kind of being as dominant and argumentative as he was, okay? In the eternal words of Portia Williams, when you do something to me, you don't get to choose my reaction, okay? And from all accounts, that man was reacting based on the information that you gave him at the time, okay? You have to, if it's a joke needs a punchline, okay? So you being defensive when you basically caused this whole situation was a complete fool, in the eternal words of Selena Johnson. But, I definitely think this is something that y'all could work through and work past. But, you have to kind of, if you can't do comedy right, don't do it at all. Because it just seems like you created an unnecessary argument. As I said before, there's nothing wrong with wanting what you want in life, okay? Like, or having this ideal archetype for your life that you want. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? But you have to do it under the right circumstances and with the right communication level, okay? And the way you did it with Shaq was very jarring, which is why he acted and responded in the manner that he did, okay? If you had sat down with him and talked about, this is how I see my life, this is what I was used to growing up, this is what I would like to create with us as a family going forward, I think it would have hit differently than this, missed joke approach that kind of took on a life of its own. Now let's move on to Gina and Clint. And for Gina, let's talk about this whole, salon school thing. Now, we back down to the salon, y'all. With Gina, the salon talk is never that far behind, okay? We got brushes, we got curlers, we got tresses, we got magic hair, we got U-part wigs. Oh. And thank y'all for telling me about, Kirsten's magic hair, a long time ago, and not a long time ago, but a couple of reviews ago in terms of it being a U-part wig. But anywho, what I really loved about Gina and Clint and why I always go up for them as my favorite couple, even though they're the least coupled up out of all of them, is just because I just feel such a kinship with them in terms of their stories, right? Gina said that she was a former bartender and she just wanted more for her life, okay? She was like, I always thought about doing hair. I looked up salon school. I said, let me just go for it. And now look at her. 10 years later, she has a business. She's an entrepreneur and she's operating in her gift, right? Now, in terms of Clint, I don't know how the whole soccer thing played into what he does now, but it was a good story in terms of soccer being something that didn't come naturally to him as a kid, but he had to try at it, and that kind of instilled the values of perseverance, right? Which is kind of something that he has to deal with in his marriage right now, right? Like if you keep putting in and keep putting your best foot forward in every situation, eventually you'll get the result that you want, right? Now, will it be love between Gina and Clint? I highly doubt it, okay? But y'all can develop a good business relationship, a good friendship out of this thing, because that's what I'm really seeing for y'all right now. But in terms of Clint, what was interesting is that he said he was a former pilot, or he was pursuing being a pilot. Y'all, I love everything aviation, okay? In my spare time, I watch a whole bunch of air crash investigation videos down to the YouTube, okay? I can't get enough of it, right? So just hearing him talk about, being a pilot or, studying to be a pilot and then making that transition to the tech world, it just teaches me and Gina and Clint that they are the clear and present example of changing your life, right? So if there is something that you guys want to do out there, right? Church, I'm talking to you. If there is something that you want to do out there, you feel stifled in your current job, you feel like you can't get out of it, use Gina and Clint as the clear and present example that there is a life after whatever your current circumstance is, okay? For me, listen, I spent almost 9 years in corporate America as an accountant and a contract manager, okay? And one day I just was like, I want more for myself. There has to be more to it. I have money. I'm not happy. I come home from work. I literally just get into bed and try to get my mind together to do it again the next day. And if you're feeling like that too, one day I just had to get up and say, listen, life is too short, okay? And this is not my ministry. This is not my life, okay? It served a purpose. Thank you, Jesus, for it. Thank you for the savings it provided. But now if I can spend, 8-9 years building someone else's dream, I could spend 1 to 5 building my damn own, okay? And if y'all feel that way, make moves for it today. But, in saying all of that, clearly I'm talking about, professional aspirations and nothing about marriage, love, and relationships regarding Gina and Clint, because y'all, I just don't see it. I don't see it anymore. I think that y'all would make great platonic friends. I think that y'all would make great business consultants, okay? Listen, Clint could get his hair done down to the damn salon whenever he needs to. And if Gina needs help in the tech world regarding making her business more technologically savvy, she can call upon Clint. But as far as a relationship, I don't know if I really see it for y'all right now. There's only like 3 weeks left, probably, 2.5 based on, the dates they were showing at the bottom of the screen. But listen, I believe in miracles. But I just don't see it for Gina and Clint. Now, moving on to Jasmine and Airris. Speaking of somebody else that might actually also be gone already, in the eternal words of Faith Evans. For her, y'all, first off, let's talk about this. Try as I might, I could not see what activity that Jasmine took Airris to. I rewound the episode so many times. I skipped through it. I tried to look through it. I could not see the event that Jasmine took Airris to, but I saw the event that Airris took Jasmine to. So I don't know if Jasmine's idea was that whole, dart game at the arcade thing later on where she invited, Kirsten and Shaq, but I didn't see Jasmine's activity. But anywho, let's start with this piece. Jasmine writes a non-deep letter. I need to get my laughs out the way. Jasmine writes a non-deep letter because she says she doesn't want to get too emotional, right? And the kind of tenets of the letter that I gleaned were, it was kind of the self-esteem thing. She was loosely telling the story of when she moved away as a kid, how it affected her self-esteem, and how she doesn't want to let people basically, attack her self-esteem, the way she feels about herself, and that she's valuable and worthy. In a way, I thought she was telling, Airris something. Y'all drop down in the comments and let me know if you agree. But it just seems like she was basically low-key saying, I'm not going to let you affect my emotions and my self-esteem, no matter how you feel about me. Now, what we are, seeing, just like I said last time, okay? Or 2 times ago, Shaq was checked out of his situation, okay? And what we saw last week was basically, Jasmine being checked out of her marriage. This is the continuation of that, okay? Y'all, I've been in situations, as I'm sure you all have as well, where it's not going well in the relationship, and you literally, whether consciously or subconsciously, you start to remove yourself from it, okay? You may be physically present, but emotionally you have left or are in the process of leaving, okay? And I think that's what we're seeing in real time with Jasmine, okay? Mama is removing her emotions from the damn show, from Airris, from the relationship, piece by piece by piece, okay? So her not wanting to get too emotional, her not wanting to get too deep, her not wanting to truly participate in the spirit of, Married at First Sight. This woman is gone already. Now, I do not blame her by any stretch of the imagination, okay? Being told on national TV that your husband is not attracted to you and he doesn't see it for you, with you and him sexually, is deleterious to your mental capacity, especially when you come from a place of your self-esteem being low as a child, okay? It's reliving past experiences. And what do I always tell y'all? If we do not heal our past traumas, we are destined to repeat them in our current life and beyond, right? So I think Jasmine has gone into protective mode, and in doing so, she's removed a lot of the emotional aspects that will kind of help them build connections, but I understand why she did so, right? Now, in terms of Airris, he takes her to a baseball store, right? Which was good. I feel like out of the two of them, it's kind of like a seesaw. At the beginning of it, Jasmine was trying more. Now, towards the end of it, Airris seems to be trying more. And he really seems to be trying to build emotional ties and emotional connections, telling his life, right? And sometimes telling your life can be ugly. Sometimes telling your life is not everything you want to hear, right? But in that moment, he tells her that, as a kid, he moved around a lot, and it kind of weaved in this kind of thread of a portable lifestyle, right? I can pick up and go. We moved around a lot. I knew how to put my stuff in a bag. We move into the next city. We on to the next, right? And thinking about that, I kind of wonder if that whole portability of his lifestyle as a kid resulted in, kind of his portability of his emotions as an adult, right? Like, I'm not going to get too deep with y'all. I'm not going to, go deep in relationships. I'm not going to get to the point of love because I don't want to feel these feelings as they are. And so I'm going to move from person to person, state to state, activity to activity, because that's all I know, right? And so on one hand, for Jasmine, it's probably not something that she wanted to hear in that moment. But in terms of Airris, like, your story is not always beautiful, okay? Your story doesn't always have a bow on it, okay? And telling you the entirety of who I am, even if you don't like parts of it or how they may affect you, it provides a deeper level of understanding in terms of who I am and why I operate the way I do. So I really liked him having that conversation with her, even though it probably wasn't what she wanted to hear, right? Now, later on, Airris writes a letter to his younger self, basically talking about, feeling alone and, not being able to express feelings as a black male. Now, listen, I grew up in a household where they were very encouraging of us to kind of share our emotions. So I don't have the testimony that Airris has, but hell, everyone has a different testimony. Like in my household, I could share my feelings up to the point of when I came out, or I was dragged out the closet. Listen, that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. All right, I might create a podcast just to talk about it. But listen, as a young person, you have to learn how to get your emotions out, okay? Because listen, I'm a firm believer that if you don't glean those important lessons in terms of, emotions not being synonymous with weakness, right? Like, I think what Airris was trying to say is that as a young black male, expressing your feelings was viewed as you being less masculine, right? Okay, and if you learn those lessons, you kind of internalize them and they perpetuate themselves through your life, right? So I wonder in a way if him feeling alone and also not being able to express his emotions manifested itself into his, proclivities out and about in the world, right? Like, I can't express my emotions through, talking about it, telling you how I feel. So I'm going to express it through moving around. I'm going to express it through running through women. I'm going to express it through, orgies, group sex, etc., right? Orgies, group sex, etc. Like, I'm wondering if him not talking about his emotions and his feelings manifested themselves into other parts of his life, okay? And I really think that when it comes to Airris, there is some level of that going on, right? And it's kind of trying to unlearn bad behavior as an adult. And it's hard. Like, you have to have those periods as a kid. I'm not saying you have to have it as a kid. I'm saying it's helpful if you have it as a kid, right? Because then you become a fully formed adult that doesn't have that kind of thing that they have to overcome as an adult now, right? So if you heal it as a child, it's easier so that when you become an adult, you can focus on other things and other hurdles that you have to go over, right? But I really loved Airris, his vulnerability this episode and the conversations that can result from that place, right? Now let's move on to Nicole and Chris, and let's talk about Nicole. So Nicole takes Chris to this deli shop to basically, show him something from her past, and she basically talks about her being a rebellious youth and a follower in a sense, right? So she rebelled as a youth. Y'all, just like I said before in terms of learning those emotional lessons earlier, it's best to be rebellious when you are younger, okay? Because listen, if you do not get that energy out as a child, as a young adult, it has a way of manifesting itself into your adult life, right? So taking a quick step and showing kind of parallels between Airris and Nicole, right? Think about it. Nicole got her rebellious stuff out when she was, younger, right? So now she's a fully formed adult and she has other hurdles to overcome. Airris didn't get that stuff out when he was younger. So when he got older, that's what turned into the group sex and the orgies and the not being emotionally committed to people. If you do not get that stuff out younger, it manifests itself into being older, okay? Life is very cyclical, okay? If you do not fix things on the front end, they'll show up on the back end, okay? So I just thought that was a very interesting connection between, Airris and Nicole. But the interesting part of, Nicole telling her story was that how it kind of affected Chris in a way, right? Chris said that he knows Nicole's type in terms of if he had known her younger, they probably wouldn't have gotten together or gotten along, right? Because in a way, Nicole's younger self reminds Chris of his past exes, right? So listen, sometimes in life you meet people when you're supposed to meet them, right? So clearly she didn't need to meet that man when she was operating in her rebellion as a youth, but now as a fully formed adult, she's in a better place to operate with a man like Chris in this time in her life, right? So interesting conversation. And on to Chris. he took her down to the painting store and he just talked about, how it was hard growing up. Apparently his dad owned some sort of painting store, and, his dad was kind of like a hard ass, and basically it was hard to meet the man's expectations, right? Now here's where the story goes a bit left for me, all right? Chris say that he had a hard growing up with his dad. He knew his dad loved him and cared for him, took care of the family, etc. But he always was trying to meet his dad's expectations, and he never was able to really get there, right? Then he says that the turning point in their relationship was when he needed somebody to watch his dog, and his dad was the only one that was available and did it. Y'all, I just don't understand why the Married at First Sight producers always try to set me up for failure. Okay, I'm tired of talking about Chris and these damn dogs. Okay, I can't do it. Like, they literally set me up for a jump shot, and I have to decide whether or not I'm gonna go off the deep end or go the sensible route, okay? You had problems with your daddy as a child growing up, okay? And the turning point was when he watched your dog, okay? No. Honey, we are choosing peace, not violence today. We will not go the violence route. I think it's wonderful, okay? That, listen, however way you can heal a relationship, heal that relationship, okay? And if your dogs were the medium that the universe used to heal the relationship between you and your father, I think that that's wonderful, right? And, I understand that whole meeting parental expectations. Y'all, listen, I'm 32, and I lived most of my life trying to be the golden child of my family, okay? Always doing what I needed to do educationally, scholastically, getting into college, getting scholarships, doing all that stuff. And looking back on it now, I kind of sometimes wonder if it was all worth it, right? Like, I learned a lot of lessons. I met a lot of great people. I did a lot of awesome things, but sometimes meeting parental expectations can have the undercurrent of living for someone else and not for yourself, right? So I really felt Chris in terms of his conversation, in certain aspects, okay? In certain aspects that I'm not going to choose violence in, we just going to move past them, okay? But the tenets of what he was saying in terms of finding a way to heal those relationships with your parents, finding a way to move past it in whatever medium that the universe uses to do that, all's well that ends well. Now, y'all, I think that's really all I want to talk about on this episode. So if you liked what I said, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on all social media at datdamndash. And until next time, y'all, bring on the sexpert and all the damn, bag of toys, tricks, handcuffs, and oh my. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.